Welcome to Future-Proof Real Estate. I'm your host, Johnney Zhang. Here, we explore how technology is transforming real estate investing, making it easier and more profitable for investors. Whether you're an investor, developer, or just curious, join us for insights to future-proof your real estate. Let's get started. Hi, Kyle. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming here.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. So tell me, what do you do? What's your business do?
I'll give you a little bit of background. My background's been in housing for a long time, since the late 90s. I was in mortgage. I kind of grew up in Orange County, built several mortgage companies, did well in that, had a 1,000-person mortgage company prior to the crash in 2005-06. We were doing 10 billion of volume a year and whatnot across 50 states. So mortgage was my stomping ground into housing. And then I got into coding and technology, and then built basically a software platform to automate mortgage, because mortgage was very manual. And then started digitizing data and built a B2B software company called Cloudverga. Sold that. We were doing about 5% of a lot of them, basically 200 to 300 billion in processing every year coming through our platform. And then, we probably had about 1 million consumers that would go through our consumer-facing app. And then we had a back-end platform, web-based platform for banks and lenders to use. And so anyways, had a lot of lenders on the platform, sold that company during COVID. And then Bonus, the company that I'm currently building, BonusHomes, really has been an idea that I've been thinking about probably about the past 15 years. All this pieces started coming together in order to build this new financial category. And that's kind of what we did. And so really what Bonus is doing is we created a new category called a HAP, Home Appreciation Partnership. And what it really does is it's an alternative to selling your home. So if you think of everyday homeowners today, the only option is to sell predominantly. And don't look at this as like Johnny's, like people like with $2 million houses or whatnot. Think middle class. Think homes between $300,000 to $600,000. Most people today, in order to move, they have to sell the home, right? Because they don't want to keep it as a rental, and then they need the equity. And so the problem is you're missing out on this appreciating asset because you have to sell in order to move. And so this house, which will be worth more in the future, you're going to miss out on that future upside, right? Because rich people can hold on to assets for a long period of time. Everybody else is hard to, because you need that cash from the house. Makes sense? Mm-hmm. And so we created a model that allows you to cash out all of your equity as if you sold it. You're not selling the property. We turn it into an investment property where we manage the entire thing. We give you the cash, you move out, 100% of your cash is out of the house. It's not a loan. It's not some weird type of rat mortgage or any type of, creative financing. It's not debt. It's an investment. And we give you your cash out, you move out. Bonus manages that asset on your behalf, like a financial advisor. We turn it into an investment property, into a rental. And then you get a percentage of the future upside later on when you sell this home. So I'll give you an example, right? A real life example. We did a house in 2022, we did several in 2022 in Phoenix, Surprise, Arizona. So this homeowner specifically was going to move to Flagstaff. So she needed to move. So she had 170,000 in equity. We cashed out her equity. She had a beautiful low interest rate, 2.75. Just gold, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And really good. And so she knew this house was going to grow in value, right? So the house was worth 400,000 at the time. So we cashed out her equity at the 400,000 value, $170,000 mortgage, $170,000 of equity. She got all of her equity out. Mortgage still is in place because it's a low rate. Now that property is an investment property. She moved out, bought a house in Flagstaff, qualified for a new mortgage, got a new primary residence, lives her life. She's moved on from her life now. She's got her money. She's ready to go. She didn't have to go show the house. She didn't have to go find a buyer. All that's gone. So now she's been living her life 2.5 years into this now, right? So that was late 2022 that we did her house, I think. Now the house is worth 490. Okay. And that house, if you sell it, probably goes out for about 490. And she now has an extra $25,000 of new money that she now has built up, because she's going to have 1/3 of that future upside. So she's got 1/3 of that 90,000 upside. So And she hasn't done anything in 2.5 years. She doesn't need to. She hasn't paid for a single thing. Bonus has handled everything on this house. And that house in the next 6 to 10 years, she'll probably get another $100,000 of new money that she never would have had she sold it back in 2022. So now she's a traveling, I think our architect is a traveling nurse. So think about that wealth that these people can now have later on. Basically, it's free money that they never would have had before because they sold their house the traditional way. So that's an example of like what this instrument does, and this home appreciation partnership. It allows us to share in the future upside together. And it's truly a partnership because we gave her $170,000 2 years ago, no interest rate. There's no payment on it. And so we're very much aligned in the future success and value of this home in the future. So that's kind of what Bonus does in the specifics.
It sounds too good to be true. Like, why would this sounds like a charity business. Why would you do this?
Yeah. I mean, it is not. It's actually a very lucrative business in a sense because we are now managing this property as an investment property.
Yep.
We have phenomenal returns. We basically have a rental property and it's turning into rental cash flow. And then we get a huge piece of the upside. If you think about it from a business standpoint, why it makes sense for us is we have this low cost of capital that we can lever, and we're able to basically build a portfolio of homes, single family homes, which is a great business that you manage over time. And then we also share in the future upside, and we're not buying the entire asset. So I'm not buying a $400,000 house for $400,000, right? I'm investing a small amount and then I get a percentage there. So, without going into the weeds, from an IRR standpoint, it's actually very, very lucrative and it's very good.
So I do have 2 questions. So how do you get, buying the equity of the property and keeping the current mortgages, which is under her name?
Yeah.
She was guaranteeing that, right? That's the first question. Second question is, you said you have a low capital you can tap into to pay for the equity, right? So where's the capital come from?
Yeah, so we have investors that we got that have raised capital from, and we've done that. That's where the capital is coming from. Number one, we're not using we have some operating capital, so we've got JV partnerships, we've got GP, LP setup, whatnot. So we have different capital providers, just like you would if you go get a mortgage.
Yep.
Right? The capital is not coming from Rocket Mortgage is not putting their own money every time they put out a loan, right? They're obviously getting it from capital providers. So same thing there. And in regards to the mortgage and in regards to that, the homeowner still owns the property, which is the beautiful thing about this.
Okay.
We do not come in. This isn't like subject to. I don't know if you've ever heard of subject to. This isn't like an alternative finance where you have someone coming in. This is definitely not what this is. Where you have, hey, Johnney, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give you some money. You have equity. You got this low rate. I'm going to buy the house from you, but you're still going to stay on the mortgage. That's wrong. Like that is not what we're doing here. The beautiful thing about what we're doing here is partnering with homeowners is the homeowner is still entitled. It still is Bob and Susie, husband and wife, as joint tenants. They own this property. We're just a fiduciary managing this asset that has invested in this property with them, right? So there's no assumption of mortgage. It's still them. Are they still responsible for the mortgage? Yes, they are. We are basically making and covering all the payments on their behalf. But at the end of the day, this is the homeowner's home and this is their asset. Look at us as almost like, property managers. Look at us as a very aligned property manager, right? Where we are coming in, we're managing that home completely. Just the economics are different because we're giving all that money up front.
Okay. And do you keep all the rental incomes?
Yeah. So we keep the entire cash flow and we do that. And then we cover all the payments, right? We're not sharing in the rental cash flow. And there's no need to because I just gave them $170,000, no payment, no interest.
And you're paying the market price, right? For the still sounds pretty good. I mean, you're basically sharing the upside in order to get their low interest rates mortgage. Am I right
we
on that?
are. We're benefiting from that, and we're not taking advantage of it because they're benefiting too. What we're doing is we basically created a vehicle that allows them to optimize this. Because when you sell that house, you're giving up that 2.75, 3% interest rate. There's 40% of the mortgages out there are below 4%. So every time you sell that house, and now you're going to a 6% or a 6.5% or whatever, because most people are about 50% of the people will buy a new house, surprisingly. The other 50% just go rent. And maybe they're waiting for the market and so forth, right? To cool down a little or for the rates to come down. But when you understand wealth building, you're levering low cost of debt. This is just a beautiful way to be able to lever that low cost of debt. And now they have a vehicle to be able to do that. Because really, and that's the mechanics of it. The driver of this is the middle class, right? So why I started this is because I grew up middle class, and I saw my father, in essence, have to get rid of his house. He lived in Irvine in Orange County. 2010, he sold his house. He needed $100,000 of equity, and he had no other choice. He couldn't get a loan because no one's going to give him a loan to 100% loan to value, right? So he had to sell the house, and he knew that house was going to be worth much more. And that house he sold for like 500 something thousand. That house is now worth $1 million, $1.2 million. So my dad missed out on all of that future upside, right?
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
because he needed $100,000 today. And so this is, and middle America, if you think about middle class, it doesn't matter your race or your gender, right? These people are getting squeezed from every direction. The middle class is. The middle class looks very different today than it did a decade ago, 20 years ago. And the wealthy, they don't need help. And if you think about it, there's tons of programs aimed at the vulnerable in our society, if you think about it, right? But no one's really focused on a dignified way, right? Really empowering the middle class, not handouts. This isn't like having government handouts, real tools to allow you to truly build and preserve wealth as middle America, right? And remember, middle class was the engine that really drives our country.
Yeah, it accounts for 50% of the GDP.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so if they don't have a way to build wealth, and if you look at the average savings of middle class right now, the average savings is nothing. They have nothing for retirement. So if you think about what we're doing with this HAP program, Home Appreciation Partnership, we're giving them a almost like a home 401k account, right? So some people might have a savings, maybe some people dabble in the stock market, but that's discretionary cash that you have. A lot of people don't have discretionary cash. So maybe some people have a 401k through their job, which is great. 401ks are wonderful, but that's now investing in the stock market, S&P, mutual fund, right? Stuff like that. Where else are they going to build wealth?
I mean, real estate is definitely one of the best tools to build wealth. But you're right. The problem was if they have to move, they have to sell the house.
If you think about it, the current system's broken, right? Because it makes it financially punitive for you to be able to go ahead and go move. That's what it does. It says, hey, Johnney, if you want to move today, just move, live your life. You got, your house is too small because you got more kids. You're tired in the area. You want to move and try something new. Guess what? You can do it. But you need to give up the most predictable wealth generator in human history, which is real estate. So you got to give up all future value, knowing that this asset is going to be worth more in the future than it is today. But that is the price you have to pay in order to move today. That's what society tells you today, right? And think about it. Every time you move, you restart the clock of wealth building. So that is what society has today. So the middle class either may have savings, and look, you can't bet your wealth and your future and your retirement on Bitcoin or on hopefully one day, I bought NVIDIA stock at the right price. It's worth something. You can't bet your world on that, right? So you got to have a diversified portfolio in order to really truly build long-term wealth. And today, most of these people move from one house to another, and maybe they get bigger houses. But the problem is, imagine, Johnney, if you were to keep all those houses, imagine 30 years from now, are those houses going to be worth more or less than what you paid for 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah, definitely. The house will always appreciate over the long term.
You can have a 2008 financial crisis, right? You can have that where houses in Nevada, in Phoenix, that were down 50%, 40%. Well, guess what? Since then, how much of those houses come up in value? 200?
Yeah, all of them.
So yep. So that's what we're doing. That is what we're trying to do. That's our mission, is to really give them a phenomenal financial tool that allows them to truly build wealth and not miss out in the future just because, Johnney needs to move to another location for whatever reason, job, family, and all that.
I mean, this sounds fantastic. How big is the addressable market? Because you're targeting the loans that's cheaper, right? I mean, it has to be the loan mortgage they have has to be cheap enough for you to make financial sense to with your
Yeah, I
investors,
mean, right now
right?
mortgage. Yeah, exactly. Right now we're low hanging fruit is go after people that have an interest rate below 4%. That's just the low hanging fruit, and get those properties going and get our traction going as good real estate. Basically, we've got two masters we serve. We serve property capital, right? We want to be able to get great returns on the properties that we do. So you have to have good rental homes, good areas, good places with high home price appreciation, or good areas that are going to have that, right? And then you also have the consumer. You want to delight them with a great experience, right? So the addressable market here is massive. I mean, look, for us, and the reason why I got into single family business, if you think about it, right? Think about Blackstone, or like companies like Invitation Homes, America
Yeah.
Home for Rent, KKR, Progress Residential. They've got, let's take America Home for Rent. They got, I think, 70,000 single family portfolio across the country, right? KKR, I think, has like 50 or 60,000. And then Blackstone has 100,000. So these are corporations owning these houses and turning them into rentals. Take those three, who are the biggest, and that's like 0.5% of the market. If you think about it, what we're doing is we're not a corporation buying this house. So we're not coming into communities and saying, hey, everybody across the street here, right? You now have, America Home for Rent, a corporation buying this house, and we're going to now do that. Because that's not really good as
People
when you
hate
go
it.
look at both sides now, like, and I live in DC as well. So we're doing a lot of interesting things with Congress right now, especially around what we're doing with this HAP program. When you think about it, when you look at both sides of the aisle, both of them don't want to have corporations owning homes, because at the end of the day, single family homes are for families, right?
Yep.
And if you think about what we're doing, in essence, we're leaving the homes in the hands of homeowners. We're leaving the fabric of that community back in the hands of you, Johnny. When you move and you still own the home, your neighbors still know that Johnny still owns that home, right? In that sense of it. But going back to your addressable market thing, if we do our goal is to do 10,000 homes over the next 7 to 10 years. 10,000 homes will unlock over $2 billion of capital that we give initially today, the capital that they can go and go live life. And then with bonus, the bonus, we'll be able to unlock another $1 billion to $2 billion of capital for those 10,000 families. That's just 10,000 homes. There's 85 million homes in the country, single family. Okay. 15% are investors. The rest are everyday people. So the addressable market is absolutely monstrous, right? For us, if we do 50,000 homes, we're a big player, and we have 0.1% of the market. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a gigantic market. It's a gigantic market
So,
to be able to build it, right?
curious, what's your exit strategy? Do you package them together, sell to those corporate homes at the end, right? Eventually, you're gonna hold it for 5, 10 years. You're gonna have to sell them, right? Or you just sell to buyers, different buyers on the market.
Well, the nice thing is the servicing will always be in the hands. The homeowner's always going to own that asset. Who services it, just like a mortgage, will always change hands. Eventually, we want to securitize this. I mean, my background has been securitizations. I did that originally late when I started the mortgage industry. I started in doing bulk, mini bulk, assignments of trades, flow basis transactions, selling to different banks and lenders and so forth on mortgages, mortgage-backed securities. We eventually want to be able to get to a point where there's a securitization of this asset, right? Which obviously opens up the market. But the nice thing about this is these contracts that we have on these houses, the homeowner will always own the home. And that is what's beautiful about this is that they own the home. We're just now an investor in that asset.
So then if you can securitize it, they're gonna probably want to know what's the collateral, right? So what if something goes wrong? Then how do they what guarantee they have? You already pay the money to the homeowner. You don't own the properties, and there's mortgage on the properties. How do you guarantee to the investor, if you eventually going to sell to the security markets? How do you guarantee the returns for the investors? How do you guarantee the risk side of it?
Well, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the rental. So two sides of it, right? From the mortgage side of it, the guarantee in that is that this is a performing asset. So with us renting the properties out, the rental income is the key to come in, right? Because the rental income satisfies the mortgage and does that. So
right. So what's the estimated yield on cost on the rental side after nets all the fees? What's the return on investment on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, so from a cash on cash perspective, single family doesn't have it. You're talking maybe 2 to 5% cash on cash yield on a yearly basis on single family, right? From an IRR perspective, 15 to 25% from an IRR perspective.
If you include
right?
depreciations, right? The
Depreciation,
2/3 of the depreciations.
You get yeah, because you get 2/3 and whatnot. And then also the other part of this is again, we're a for-profit business. So obviously the way we make money on the rental income, we make money on the future exit of the property, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the also thing is what's interesting about this is we work with agents, but if you think about this, we also have a discounted price because you don't have to have a buyer agent. Typically when you sell a home, the seller, right, pays
Right.
sell side, buy side.
That's
And then
about
you
5-6% of the transaction cost plus escrow,
Right, so
title, all that.
That's right. That goes away. If you have an agent, we'll pay the agent side, the listing side. There's no agent involved, then you're saving 6-7% on top of that from a discounted perspective too, right?
Mhm.
And then we close in 2 weeks. If you think about it, you're familiar with like iBuyers, like Open Door, OfferPad, right? You've heard of those guys, the iBuyers?
No.
So Open Door's publicly traded company. They come out, they do cash offers, right? They basically say, we'll buy your house for cash. You close in 2 weeks. You don't need an agent and you don't need to list it. And what they're solving for is the convenience of certainty, right? Because it's stressful when you sell your house. When you list it, it's a very stressful time because you're trying to buy a new house.
Right.
You have you open house. You have the people walking through your house. You have all this kind of stuff. Right? Open Door came in the market. It's a great model. They came in the market and said, "Listen, you don't need to list it. We just buy it and we'll."
They're probably lowball them, right, to do that.
They do lowball. Yeah, because what happens is in an iBuyer model, they have to turn that asset over to the investor. So they have to buy it 400, right? House might be 440. They buy it 400 or 390, 380. They fix it all up. And then by the time they want to go ahead and sell it, they have 5-6 months. Depending on what their line capacity is, right? What they have with, any of the investors that they have. They have to, sell that asset obviously for a premium or for a turn, right? Well, in a market where the market goes down, it's been very difficult. And so if you go look at their stock price, there's a reason why they're not doing it. They do, I think 3,000 homes a quarter, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 homes a quarter. They got good revenue coming in, but they're burning cash because they're, and so that's why their stock is down 98%. Anyways, my point is that's not our model, but what we're able to do is that value add. We can provide the value add, but come in at a higher price to the homeowner because the value add for us is we're funding in 2 weeks. We don't run credit. I don't really care about your credit situation. Don't care about your income. All we need you to do is move out, which is what you're going to do anyways.
That's pretty good. I think the convenience part is going to get lots of homeowners. Like you said, they just want to move out. Now they're getting all the cash without the headaches. And also the upside, it's like a no-brainer, right?
It's like a no-brainer when it qualifies. The tricky part is we're very picky on the homes that we pick. Just like you are when you go buy property and you want to buy commercial property, you're not going to buy every property. You're going to pick one. I mean, how often do you go? How many properties do you look at and then you finally pick?
Hundreds of them.
A lot. Exactly, right? You're just like, all right, no. So this isn't like we're going to be able to do it for everybody, but there's so many people that we can try to go help. But, if we can do for 1 out of every 10, 20 homes, 30 homes that we see. So it's really for us is we are our biggest thing is, and we took millions and millions of dollars and a lot of time over the past 2 years to perfect the underwriting of this. What do we look for? How do we look? Because that is the key right here. If we don't have a good performing asset, then all of this doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So our discipline has been, how do we become really good real estate managers? And that's really what we're doing. Right?
Yeah. Like you said, you're more like a property manager that with cash that will pay the owners, right?
We're an AUM business, right? At the end of the day, we're in business and that's what we're trying to do. And so we had to build the discipline to say no on a lot of deals before we say yes. But when we say yes, it's basically like you won the lottery. You really did.
Okay. So do you get a lot of applicants to your guys?
No, we've been very under the radar. I mean, literally me talking to you now, we're just starting to get out. Like we haven't made a lot of announcements at all. Okay. We've been under a rock for 2 years. We just started in November, December. And, we're right now doing it. We haven't even spent any money on marketing, right? I mean, we're literally word of mouth agents. We're making offers on properties in multiple cities. We're in Phoenix. We're in Tucson, Columbus, Cincinnati, Ohio. We're in Memphis. We love Memphis. Memphis, Nashville. We're in Birmingham, Alabama, great market. And then we're in Dallas. So those are the core, and Colorado and Nevada and Vegas. Sorry. So we're in about 9 markets and we're working with different agents and stuff. We're like, hey, we like this house. And we try to make offers on them. So we're We're slowly getting the discipline of it. But now that we've done enough, transactions and homes, we're getting the process going, right? Because remember, at the end of the day, we're the ones with the capital. So we have to verify, make sure everything is good. We do property inspections. So we're getting good at that. So now we've got partners, we've got plumbers, roofers, cabinet, flooring, paint, HVAC, we've got systems engineers, foundational engineers that we are building relationships with. Because when we inspect homes, right, we go check the foundation. If there's cracks, we want to go make sure. Do we need rebar in there, right? All these pieces we've been putting together so we create the entire ecosystem to evaluate the asset, make sure it's a good asset. What's the reno going to need it to be done on it? Because we don't want houses that require a lot of work. This isn't like we don't want to full reno houses. We ideally want turnkey houses, but you still have to, repair stuff.
Ideally you want to get houses in good condition. You can just like paint it over and make it look fresh, and they'll ask the top dollar of the market.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. We don't want houses that'll take 6 months and we're just like, oh, we're gutting the second floor. We're going to take this wall out. We want houses that we're going to come in, tidy up some stuff, right? It's fascinating too. A lot of houses, they're HVAC units. A lot of these people, and it's okay too. I mean, like I'm in the process of, with my house as well and renting it out. My HVAC, 8 years, like a lot of people's like the HVAC's like, dying. So you're going to have to replace that. So there's just certain things that even when you sell a home, you're going to be coming across this when you do an inspection, right? Whether it's a buyer looking at it or whatnot. The HVAC's going to die in the next year or so. You're probably going to have to replace that.
Right. Okay. It's a lot of work, right? Because I own a property management company, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And the question, do you need licensed in all 9 states to be a manager?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing is right now we partner with property managers.
Okay.
So like so we don't want to do the property management. We are an overlay on top of the property management. So we built an entire workflow where we work with the property managers, and we built an entire customized. We've got great property managers, and luckily, thank God, because there's some really bad
ones out there.
There's some bad ones out there, but we are not in the property management game. Meaning, we are not. Once the house is going, they'll fix it. We're not finding the tenant. We're partnering with them to be able to do that, but.
They also take a portion of the income too, right? They charge.
They will, and we account for that. That's right. Okay. They make an income as well. So we're a client to them, and their goal is obviously with scale, we can start doing that. Now, as we get to 1,000, 2,000 homes, we'll optimize those line item costs, right?
Right.
As you know what I'm saying, where some of that maybe we'll bring in house. I don't know if we ever get to a point where we do property management, but at the end of the day, I don't know if we want to.
It's not a good business. I'll tell you right now.
No, we're a financial. Look at us as a new financial instrument category, and HAP is sitting right on top of a property manager, right?
So you're more like an asset manager, right? That comes in. You come in with cash, but you manage the financials, manage the property manager, manage the leasing team. If you have a separate leasing team, you make sure that the assets is running, good for your investors, right? Yeah,
that's right. Okay. That's right. And the property manager handles it day to day. They handle the tenant conversations. They handle it. Hey, my leaky faucet, whatever it is, right? And then we cover all the expenses. So then the property manager works with us, right? Homeowners completely removed from this. They don't need to do anything, because remember, most people, everyday homeowners, they don't want to be a landlord for the reasons we just talked about.
Yeah,
too much work. So what we've done is we've removed them completely from it. They don't need to be part of it. We now have full economic control on that asset on their behalf. We have obviously we have a fiduciary responsibility contractually that we're going to perform this asset at the highest possible care. We've got a lot of money on the line. So this isn't like a typical property manager. It's a property management company. You don't have money on the line. You're just getting money, and then you're distributing the net cash to the owner of the property. Well, I just gave you $200,000 with no interest rate on it. You better believe I'm going to make sure that property is operating highly efficient, because I want to get that 200 and turn it into 500.
Yep. It makes sense. Now that this setup would actually allow you to scale a lot faster, because now you don't have to do the management job. Like that's a lot of labor intensive.
That's exactly right. And then look, my background in technology and a lot of stuff like AI, and a lot of people talk about it, right? But as we start deploying agentic AI application layer above the core layers, right? Above, whether it's whenever LLM model, doesn't even matter, right? Whether using Anthropic or whatever it might be. This is a beautiful opportunity for us to lever AI as we start building this, right? My goal isn't to have 1,000 people to be able to build this. My goal is to use best of breed services, pipe them in here, right? And humans handle the core key pieces to make sure good home, right? Good value to the consumer, good returns to an investor. And then they start deploying agentic AI and applications across multiple agents to start doing a lot of the remedial type works, right? That we can start really driving towards.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I mean, we're if you think about what we really are, we're an asset under management business with a sliver of, with a fintech technology kind of layer on top of that to help us find the right homes, manage the right assets, perform the right things, right? So that's kind of our goal. I mean, and if you really think about it, I mean, we launched basically, I would say we really started doing homes end of 24. So we're just getting going right now, but we're super excited. I mean, it is hard, but
You
oh
literally
my
spent
God.
about 2 years to try to like train your team and to perfect an underwriting process, right? So it sounds like now you're ready to go, right? What would your go-to-market strategy? Would you do ads?
Yeah,
What-
yeah, multiple. Well, we already started one of them. One of them is going through agents, right? So we built some
Right.
technology where we can actually make offers on houses that we like that are listed on the market. And the thing with agents is just awareness, right? Because agents get bombarded by a bunch of random people. If you call like, "Hey, I'm Johnny, I want to buy your house," they're going to think you're a scam, subject to wrap mortgage, creative financing, right? You know that, right? They're gonna be like, "Listen, Johnny, whatever. If you're interested in the house, send me an offer," right? Well, with Bonus, we're a totally different solution. We're not, there'd be some explanation for something that's never been done before. So we got to create awareness for a lot of, we have great agents, but we got to create awareness for the agent community to understand what this is, but more importantly, to understand what this is not. Don't put us in the same box as something else, right? Because whenever you build something that no one's ever done before, what happens? Human nature, what happens? We take it and we apply it to what we know,
Yep.
right? So I've had people say, "Wow, this sounds like a reverse mortgage." Not even close, but that's the closest thing that they can relate to this, right? So our job right now is create awareness, trust. As with anything new. In the early days, Uber had to do that. Uber didn't have a flock of people just jumping into the backseat of a random stranger's car, right? And just being like, "What am I doing?" Same thing, Airbnb. Airbnb is the same thing. It's like going to someone's house, all those things. That requires a rewiring of the mind. But now look at what we do. We go Airbnb everywhere, right? We put our kids into the Uber car without even us now. It's just a second nature. So we're at that stage of, I would call it the ideation awareness, which is just basically like, how do we get people to start understanding and trusting what we're doing? And that's why we got a lot of content out there that we're starting Instagram or YouTube. We have testimonials and videos of agents, homeowners. What was your experience like with Bonus, right? Trustpilot. All those things help us create trust. And that's where the early days of doing that. But we've had agents hang up on us and be like, "No, you're a scam, whatever." You didn't even listen to the story yet. Like, all we said is, "Can we talk about what we're doing?" "No, I don't have time. I got listings." "No. Do you have an offer? Just submit the offer." Right. And you're going to get them. So how do we get those people to really start being like, when we say, "Hey, Johnny, you're an agent. Johnny, good news on that house, 123 5th Street. Hey, listen, I think I have a bonus offer on that one." "Wow. Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, let's get the homeowner. Let's start talking to them about this." Right. That's what we want to be able to get to, right? Education for the agent. So that's one channel, because agents are super important and they're a big part of this as well, right? But we also will have a natural consumer channel as we start doing this, right? Where we have consumers coming and, and being able to do that as well. The nice thing about this here too, which is key, like I said, agents are a big piece of this. There's no product that has been ever built where the agent, and by the way, agents get full compensation with this program. So it's not like if they do a bonus, if they have a 3% listing agreement with their homeowner and the homeowner has an agent, they'll get paid their agreement, right?
So
we're not cutting
curious on that one. Now it's not a home transaction. Would it be a security transaction, or how those commissions being categorized?
Yeah. So basically it's compensation, right? And so we would have, the homeowner still signs an agreement with us. Homeowner then has an agreement that says they're going to pay out in proceeds, just like you would on a sale.
Okay.
And then that compensation goes to the brokerage as
So it
well.
becomes like a contracts commission sort of.
It really does, but it's also, you know, what's really nice about this app, in essence, is that it is a sale of the equity. And so these homeowners, by the way, too, just to give you a little, one of the very first things that we did was hire Deloitte. That was one of the very first things, because one of the things I wanted to make sure is this had to be every benefit of it if you sold it. So when you sell it, for a lot of people who have a primary residence, you get that 121 exclusion,
Yeah.
right? Where you
Yeah.
have gains to 250,000 if single, 500. So we wanted to make sure, can we have a homeowner who bonuses their home still get the benefit of that if they were a primary residence and they fulfilled everything under the section 121 of the code? And the answer is basically yes, we can. And we've had this happen.
Okay.
Right? We're not CPAs, but the homeowner, because this property will no longer be a primary residence anymore. This is it. Once this property now bonuses, it's going to be a rental property, and they are selling their equity. So in essence, they are constituting as basically under that exemption, the cap gains benefit. So they get that, which is huge. Anyway, my point in saying all that is that we structure it like a sale in the same way. And the consumer and the agent through escrow, because we open up escrow and title, it's just a lot cheaper because we're not doing any type of transfer of title, deed, reconveyance, all that kind of stuff. It still works where the agent gets paid, right? But here's what I was going to say about the agent. Here's the thing about this. So Johnny, imagine you're the agent on this house on 5th Street, and you're going to get paid your, let's say 2% or whatever it is that you already have. If you do a good job as an agent, where you stay in contact with your homeowner, your client, because remember, this is still we're not agents. We're not going to sell a home. We're not the real estate agent game. Okay. We're not going to be in the brokerage. So you do a good job, Johnny, because we can't force the homeowner to pick an agent later on. Remember, it's still their home. You do a good job in 6, 7, 8 years, you're going to have a tickler on your phone. You're on something on your CRM, and you're going to be like, oh, hey, this house now is worth $700,000. Let me reach out to the homeowner and the bonus and just say, hey guys, have you thought about maybe selling this thing? It's $700,000. Looks like it's a pretty good thing. Looks like it's at the top of the market, blah, blah, blah. And that agent can now represent the homeowner when the house is actually sold 7 years from now. Makes sense?
Yep, it does. Okay.
So you as an agent get paid today. And if you do a good job to represent, the house is eventually going to need to be sold. So you can get paid again.
Okay, quick question. If you have a dishonest owner, how do you make sure that you're getting paid out of escrow?
If we have what now?
A dishonest owner. Say if the owner try to take advantage of your situation where, hey, your name is not on title. It's not on title, right? I'm going to sell the property a few years later. I mean, I'm just going to tell my escrow, don't pay you guys. Don't pay bonus, right? I'm going to keep all the cash.
Well, we open up escrow, and it's similar to like a mortgage or what. In escrow will have a disbursement. I mean, we're not going to fund. We're going to fund it to escrow, and then escrow will go ahead and disperse.
Yeah, I get. I'm saying years down the road, like say 5 years down the road, when they try to resell those homes.
Oh yeah. Well, we have a second lien position on the property.
Oh, you do have a second lien position. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're not giving the home for $200,000 and just be like, homeowner.
Yeah, just on contracts, right? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, we have the contract. We record the deed of trust.
Okay. Good. And then you'll be notified whenever anything happened to the property. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then, but the beautiful thing is that deed of trust doesn't have a note tied to it. So there's no note. So if it's $200,000, it's $200,000. Okay. So that payout will be $200,000. And then when the house sells, mortgage gets paid off. We get paid off.
Okay. Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Sounds good. So this sounds really, really good. So what would you be your constraints? Let me guess. Would your constraint be like getting enough capitals to buy those homes?
Yeah. Always capital, right? I mean, property capital. Because I mean, we want to get to 10,000 homes. You think about that, right? Average investment that we do is $100,000 to $200,000 per home. So, you're talking 10,000, a couple $1 billion. Now that capital's out there, but getting there, right? Being able to do that just takes time. So property capital is always going to be a game where you're always raising, but we're pretty confident in that. That's I would say, a big, or, something that we have to do. And then again, really the biggest thing is no one's ever done this before. People are afraid of change. And so our biggest thing is we have to educate and we have to get people to hear what we're trying to say.
Yeah. That sounds like it's a pretty good story. You help the
It's a pretty good
homeowners,
story.
they're having the upside. I mean, would they did, I mean, why would they say no to it, right? It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly right. And the key is if they understood it, Johnny, right? Because, you got it. It can be complicated because remember, we're wired differently. Right? We've been wired, right, to sell anytime we want to move. So we are rewiring the framework and saying, selling, there's another choice. You can still sell. And actually, sometimes we tell people go sell. But why not have another choice, just like you do in everything else, right? So it is a rewiring of a category that's never done before, but we're super excited about it because, like I said, to create a new financial category, it takes a lot of work. And the nice thing about this is we hope there will be others who come in and create apps as well, right? We will not be the only ones, and there will be others that can be able to eventually come, but we're trying to pioneer that as we go.
Yeah. I mean, once you did good in the market, people can copy you, right? There's nothing to prevent them from copying you, right? Yeah.
That's exactly what you needed. Tesla dominated what they were doing, and then Ford, GM, and all these other guys started copying. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always good to have competition, right? Zillow has Redfin, and you had Trulia, you had all these different types of things, right? So.
Yep, that's correct. All right. Yeah. So back to the capital raising. So what do you offer to an investor right now? How do you attract them? Where do you find your investors? The reason I'm asking this is because I have a tokenization thing I'm doing. I thought I might be able to help you on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. We definitely talk more. I mean, we have different structures we can do. We can either set it up as a fund, or we have a fund that you contribute to. Typical fund, real estate fund,
private fund, right? Yep.
Yeah, we could do a JV. So we got a very, very, very large investor, which once we make our announcements and stuff, you'll definitely know that. But we got a very large investor that we did a JV structure for them.
So they'll fund all the deals,
they'll fund all the deals. They pay a management fee, whatnot, and then we share, and then it's a contribution into this JV. So we put some capital in, they put some capital in. So there's many ways to skin this from a standpoint, from a return perspective. We're not just in one box.
Right, and then once you put enough property together, then you want to securitize them and you want to sell them to the banks, right? Okay.
Securitization, eventually you start going. That's right.
Okay, got it. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Have you heard about tokenization at all? Like how it comes out?
I know. Yeah, you're starting to do some of that, right?
Yeah, I tokenized my property 2 years ago, 2022. Then I'm actually doing a launch pad right now. I'm trying to launch a tokenization investment platform, help people to launch their tokenized, say, funds or syndications, or even just tokenize their property or business directly. So they can then sell those tokenized shares, which is tokenized securities, to global investors. Then you can now, have a bigger market you can tap into. And then, of course, the same security, same economics, except now you literally swap the paper certificates into the token, like digital token on blockchain. So it's more accessible. So that's a pretty cool technology that I've used myself. So
yeah, I would love to talk to you about that. Yeah, I don't know if we're early or not in it, but I would love to learn more about that for sure and do something.
So I do have a fund myself put together called USP, United States Property. That's a tokenized fund. So we're actually looking at the investment too. So the way I see is, I can raise more money on my USP and then use that money to invest in your deals. Right. At the same time, if you want to start your own fund, I can help you tokenize your fund as well. And then you can then they'll be able to tap into more investors. One of the benefits of tokenization is when you do tokenization, you can actually sell to domestic investor, accredited investors. You can also sell to foreign investors. And then token, now you can get any foreign investor to buy into your token, you can accept cryptos. And then they'll have to be KYC'd. And they go through the AML, anti-money laundering check, or they can buy them. So then they don't have to be accredited investors. So you get a way larger buyer pool of those tokens, and then they become a shareholder, right? You just
Wow.
So I think that's a benefit of tokenization. Tokenization is you have a much wider market,
much wider, much less restrictive audience to be able
exactly. Yeah, and those foreign buyers of the token can now trade those tokens. And within 12 months, they can buy today, trade tomorrow, as long as they don't sell back to Americans. So we have basically customized a smart contract, make sure that you can't sell back to Americans, but they can trade between each other.
And you have this. Your fund basically does all this.
Yeah. So my fund, my USP does all that, but also I'm launching a new platform, help other people to tokenize their fund to do the same thing.
That's awesome.
It's like a
That's
SaaS
awesome.
company.
I love
like,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would love to talk to you more about that. Let's do that for sure. I want you to meet. Yeah, I would have you meet one of my partner. You guys, we could talk about that. That's awesome. Yeah, because I
Okay.
mean, we're getting to a point where we need a bigger boat, right? And I think that's going to be because I mean, it's like you said. I mean, we started getting. I mean, we're going now, and this is pretty. It's
I mean,
good.
the
So
whole
yeah, I mean,
program sounds so good. I couldn't even
yeah.
think of any old constraint we would have except for the capital. It's going to need billions of dollars to buy
No,
those
there's
properties.
no constraints. Yeah, I mean, like I said again, my background in housing. I'm not. I always tell people this, Johnny. Right? I'm not. I'm good at housing. I'm not good at a lot of things, right? But I'm good at housing. It's been in my thing for a long time. So this has been something I've been building. You got to realize how did this all, several tailwinds had to happen. One, you got this low cost of capital that happened between 2018 and 2021. Unbelievable. Never before seen. Everyone refinanced 4 times to get to a 2%, 2.5%, 3% rate, right? That's one tailwind. Second tailwind, this concept of a shared appreciation instrument that we've taken from, right? There's companies out there that do what's called home equity investments and stuff. And it's a great business where they basically, instead of charging debt, it's like an alternative to a HELOC or a cash out second. Instead of charging a debt, like a line of credit, like prime +4 or whatever it might be, right? SOFR +2, like the banks would do if you want to get a HELOC, home equity line of credit. They have what's called an HEI where it's just, hey, we'll give you cash, but we share in the upside. You need 50,000, you need 40,000. So this concept of shared appreciation is now starting to become very, 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 very good. It's been securitized. It's been rated. S&P has rated that as well. And that helps. We're not necessarily what they're doing, but we take a piece of it. So these pieces have come together in a really nice way to allow us to be able to put this together. And so that's why the tailwinds made a lot of sense to do this. And so it's like, okay, now we're ready to go. We put these pieces together, right? And like I said, it works. We've had people. It was funny, we were in, I guess I live in DC, and people said, "Well, have you had talked to CFPB?" I'm like, CFPB has definitely downsized quite a bit, obviously, with this administration. But we welcome it. Actually, we will be talking to them directly because we welcome that you hear this, because there are cowboys out there who are not doing this, but they're taking advantage of people because of those low rates. There's a lot of cowboys out there that are taking advantage. Individual investors who are taking advantage of people by basically saying, hey, not only they're doing it intentionally, but they're just like, I'm going to buy the property, but you're still going to be on the mortgage. That makes no sense. Like you have a mortgage, but you're not tied to the property. There's a lot of that. And I think those are things that need to be looked at. But for us, we're open. We're like, listen, poke holes at this thing. We've been doing it for 2 years. We've had great customer journeys throughout this thing. And, we think we've covered a lot of the different things, right? And to your point, you nailed it. Our biggest thing to growth is we want to find in the early days, we want to find good capital partners that see the vision, right? And again, when you look at Congress, right, and you look at the administration, but you also just look at Congress, there's 3 big things that they're trying to solve for, right? Which one of them is they're doing, right? Which is the border, right? Obviously. What's the other big thing? The other thing is middle class, right? How do you get the revival of the middle class? Secretary Besson said this, again, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, it doesn't matter. Secretary Besson said this, which is true. It's like, Main Street, Wall Street has made so much money. Most people don't participate in Wall Street. Main Street is the one that needs to be in focus. And when I go back to that quote I told you in the beginning about Main Street is the middle class, right? They just need tools. They don't need handouts, right? They don't need government handout. They just need tools like this and other tools that allows them to be able to hold on to assets, right? And it's a fundamentals. I mean, the reason for your success is what? You know how to hold on to appreciating assets. You know when to buy them and you hold them on, right? That's how you build something. Most people don't have the ability, the thing to be able to do it. And they don't want to. They just want to live their life. They have their family. They have their kids. They want to be able to do that. They're not real estate investors.
Yeah, they're not sophisticated enough to know the power to build wealth is in the holdings, right, of the real estate.
Yeah, it's or not even a thing. I would say they don't have the means to do it. They don't have hey, they're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're living like this. And I grew up in that, and I lived it. I saw it. I grew up in a single father. My dad didn't own a home until 30 years after he came here from Iran. 1976, my dad came. He bought a house in 2005. So during that entire time, and my dad was in real estate, he just couldn't get ahead. He always rented, right? Until I was out of the house, he finally owned a home. And it wasn't a big home. It was a $500,000 townhome and stuff. Fine, right? But like, that's what we got to solve for. And if we can give people, everyday people, this second chance of wealth building that they never would have had before, how many people's lives will be impacted? Huge, huge. Right? Remember that Venus example I just gave you? She's got $25,000. This is a real life example right now today. And it's only been 2 years, by the way. In the past 2 years, home prices haven't gone up that much. Hers was lucky. She was in a good area and whatnot. Think about this though. That lady is going to have $100,000 by 10 years. I mean, maybe not exactly at 10 years. It might be 9, it might be 11. Who cares? It's a long-term hold, right? $100,000 is a lot of money. And to be able to say, hey guys, good news. Your bonus account now is $100,000. You ready to sell the property? Well, yeah. Let's go.
That's insane. So what drives you, right? This sounds all really good. Is your dad's story that drives you? Like what drives you to do all this?
It is my dad's story because it's a great question. It is my dad's story, right? Because I have seen, my dad is 73 years old right now, right? And his and I relationship has but his and I relationship has really struggled. And you can blame me, you can blame his stubbornness, right? You know, it's that classic father-son type of, whatever. But I can tell you right now, right? My father's pride, right? His sense of accomplishment was deflated because he's not in a great position right now, right? I mean, he's 73 years old. He's collecting Social Security, but he's 2008 destroyed him. It absolutely destroyed him. And it destroyed a lot of people. And my poor dad, who is so smart, right, has not been able to do that, right? And I'm not saying bonus, if bonus existed back then, I think my dad would have had a couple $100,000 of extra money here. Guess what? My dad at 73 years old, I bet you, Johnny, if he had $200,000, $100,000 of extra cash, just disposable cash, he would start a new business, even if he's 70 years old. That's just the kind of guy he is. He's an entrepreneur. So the despair and unfortunately the struggle that I've seen, right, has affected me personally because, again, my dad's he's an Iranian, prideful, I'm sure, some Persians out there, right?
Like a lot of
very
Persian
prideful. Yeah. They're very prideful people, especially people who grew up in Iran prior to the revolution, right? He was born there. It's a different culture. And the pride in my dad that I didn't do what I was going to be able to do. And he just had bad luck, man. Just had a bad luck, unfortunately. Right. And if he had a second chance at building his life again, how cool would that be, right? And that is what drives me because I'm like, how many of my dads are out there? And it doesn't have to be financial distress, but just how many people are out there where life happens, right? Johnny, you and I are young. I mean, I'm 45 now, right? I don't know how old you are, but
45.
Yeah. So think about it, right? You don't know what your life is going to be like. And what if you're 50 years old and something, God forbid, something happens, like medical, family, something like that. And if you don't have the means to be able to take care of it, what do you do? Right. And if bonus can be this, I always tell people we're in the real estate business, but we're really in the wealth generating business. We just happen to be in real estate. Real estate is the vehicle we're using, but our fundamental goal is to create wealth for your future that you wouldn't have had otherwise through homes without you doing anything. This is a turnkey solution, right? I don't need you to think about, should I invest in here? Should I invest in here? I don't need you to do the work that you do to go look at different commercial properties and stuff like that. This is Johnny, you remember this house that you lived and now you're supposed to sell it? You bonused it. Do you believe your house is going to be worth more in the future than it is now? Yeah. Why do you believe that? Well, I saw what happened the past 7 years that I've owned it. It went from 300 to 500. Okay, great. Do you think you can go from 500 to 800? Yeah. Okay, great. So all we're doing is we're just making that asset that you already know into a no-brainer wealth generator for you. We can't time the market and tell you when it's going to be worth exactly the right price. But we know if we hold it between 5 to 30 years, you're going to win.
Yep.
You're going to win.
Definitely beat inflation.
You're going to win.
Appreciate for the long term. It sounds like exactly right. It created a new I wouldn't say that exactly, but we're close to insurance, like like for their retirement, right? This is like, look,
Yeah.
you can buy insurance, you can buy Social Security, you can buy 401k, but this is your additional insurance you never even have the chance to have. Now bonus is giving you that extra insurance that you would never have access to before.
That is a great analogy. That's exactly right. And again, like I said, think about what people's retirement account. You got maybe a pension, maybe you got a 401k, maybe you got a small brokerage account, maybe right? Fidelity, Schwab, Robinhood, whatever, right? But where's your home account? Who's managing your home account, right? And this is not your primary. Your primary is you, right? In essence, it's like you're doing it. But like this is a way to be able to build multiple properties because that's how you build assets, right? And so that's the power of what we're trying to do. And if we can educate people and show them that now they can be a multi-asset owner, okay? And because this multi-asset, you own appreciating multi-assets. That's how you build wealth.
They can literally using you guys as a partner where they go buy a home, they live a few years, they move out, they buy another home, they give the home to you guys, and then they the owner appreciation, they do the second one, they repeat it, right? They can, like you said, they can build multi-assets.
Yeah, and that's the goal, what we want to do right now, right? Our goal is, by the time as we get going, and this is where the early days of partners, right? The goal is over time. Johnney can come to us on his first home, bonus it. Then 7-8 years later, bonus it. And then 6-7 years later, bonus it. And now he's got 3 properties plus his new primary. Okay. Johnney's now 65 years old. He's got 4 kids. And each of these properties, he's probably got now worth $3 million worth of properties. And he's got a third, plus his primary, right? And now he's got 150 here, 200,000 here, 100,000 here, right? And now he's got $500,000 built up of bonus properties, right? And then now he can go ahead and hand it to his kids.
Yeah. It's like, it sounds too good to be true. It's like the bonus money they will never otherwise have. I really like the name.
That's why we're doing the name bonus. It is a bonus. It's truly, exactly right. It's truly a bonus. And so that's the beautiful thing about it. Yeah. And so now you got it. And again, it is the property capital and getting the right getting partners that, family offices, right? Or, the bigger guys. But I built and sold companies before. I love partnering with people and like our investors. They're great. They're actually friends, which I love. Right? Being able to have with people in the early days to build something, right, is a powerful and fun journey to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So if people want to find you guys, how do they find you? You have a website? Where did you?
Yeah, bonushomes.com. You can go check out our Instagram as well, bonus.homes. YouTube has a bunch of videos, Bonus Homes. But yeah, I mean, that's the best way. And like I said, the markets that we're in, homes that we typically do look below 500,000, ideally 3-bedroom, 2-bath, homes built after 1980. We want newer homes, right? Because obviously homes in the 70s and earlier, unless they're fully gutted, right? You're dealing with asbestos, aluminum piping in some markets. Yeah. So we want to get, we gotta get clean those up. So typically we go over 1980, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, ideally like, cookie cutter homes that a family can come and live, nothing rural. We want to be in good areas where there's a lot of activity going, right? Not high crime, good schools, right? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you did mention 9 cities, right? Can you repeat them again? The 9 markets you're in?
So cities are Phoenix, Tucson, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland in Ohio, Charlotte, Raleigh, Memphis, and Nashville. We like Dallas. Things going on with insurance over there, but Dallas is good. Colorado, Springs, Colorado. We just did a couple there. And Birmingham,
Birmingham.
And Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah. Definitely no California, right? It's the worst place to be.
No, worst place.
All right.
No,
okay.
No. And that's the reason why I'm moving, Johnny. I'm leaving. I'm like, I grew up here, man. It's been 40 years. I've been here since 1982. And literally I'm moving because, gonna be in the market, gonna be in Arizona. But yeah, no, this is California and New York are probably the last place bonus will be, unfortunately, just because this is
yeah, definitely.
We did look at some places like more, east, closer to the border and stuff like that on Arizona, Nevada border and stuff like the Hendons and stuff like that. The California laws too are just very, it's tough.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's not really landlord friendly at all. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad tenants, it's hard to evict them. It's pretty hard to evict the bad tenants. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, thanks for the time, Kyle. It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, this was great. Thanks for the question. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Well, let's definitely catch up after this. All right.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our podcast, leave a review, and share it with your network. Your support helps us bring more valuable content to your audience. Until next time, see you later.